Michael Schumacher is back in Formula One, and that's official. The seven-time world champion was formally introduced to the staff and crew of his new team Mercedes on Wednesday after signing a three-year deal worth around $10 million. The German, who retired 3 years ago and will be 41 next week, is reuniting with the Mercedes team principal, Ross Brawn, who masterminded all 7 of his world titles with Benetton and Ferrari. Schumacher, who spent last season as a consultant for Ferrari, almost came back to drive for them last year as a replacement for the injured Felipe Massa. A neck injury scuppered that return, but he's now fit, and with Ferrari's blessing, he'll partner Nico Rosberg in an all-German Mercedes lineup.
I had a chat with Ross in Abu Dhabi concerning sort of half-serious question if I would consider driving again, and it wasn't the right moment. I wasn't really considering since 3 years, though 3 weeks later he called me again and he put the question a little bit more serious. And I don't know what happened, but the fact, working together with Ross, having the combination together with Mercedes GP and Petronas to go back on track, it was inspiring. It was something that sparked inside myself and until now has never stopped. And it's really something that makes myself thrilled. The point that Mercedes actually paid a ticket for me into Formula One, and now I'm able to return back to Mercedes and hopefully give back what they wish for, and that is to come back and win races together with Mercedes GP. It's something that I really look forward to.
The greatest racing driver of our era is now part of our team, so unbelievable year. I won't forget this year for a long time.
All of Formula One wants Michael back. You know, so many of the other team principal and team owners have spoken to us in the last few weeks and said, you know, we really hope that Michael comes back and joins your team, because it's not just good for our team, it's good for all the Formula One teams, it's good for the Formula One sport, and I think it will help us, you know, build more and more fans around the world, and I think that's very important for all of us.
We have a good chance. If you look at where the car has been last year and the team, if you look with the support, with the more intense support Mercedes will obviously give to the team. So it's a package that sounds very promising. It sounds inspiring for myself to grab the wheel, and I can't wait for it.
As you may know, Mercedes have taken control of Brawn GP, which won the drivers' and constructors' titles last season. And with Jenson Button having moved on to McLaren, Schumacher is precisely the injection of glamour the team needs. Indeed, as you heard, his comeback could reignite the whole sport.
People say he's 41 years old now and has he still got it, but he's still very talented, and I just don't know what his fitness is like, because he's had a bit of a neck problem. But if he's on the grid, I think it'll be good for Formula One, and I look forward to the challenge.
I don't think anybody expected this. When his summer comeback unfortunately did not work out thanks to his neck injury, the subject was sort of done. You can't predict something like this. Let's see. Obviously, I hope that he is in good condition, that he can drive, and that he has no physical problems. I assume he is professional enough and knows how to prepare himself.
As Jenson Button mentioned, a chronic neck injury suffered during a motorbike accident ended Schumi's plans of a comeback last season. And at the time, he more or less said, that's that. So, what's changed?
In summer, unfortunately, we have to say the time was too early. The time between the accident and driving back in a Formula One car, it was too small. Now we have almost a year, and I have now started obviously intense training, and I'm already at levels that I have not been able to work at in summertime, so I have no doubt about my neck.
And we'll have more on Schumacher's comeback after the break with an in-depth analysis from London. Welcome back to more Formula One and the return of seven-time champion Michael Schumacher, a topic our resident gearhead Justin Armstrong discussed with F1 expert Tony Jardine.
An amazing announcement by the man who's now 40. He's 41 in just a few days' time. Is it a pipe dream for all of us to think whether he can win a driver's title next year?
I think a driver's title is out of the question, to be honest. I think a couple of victories are possible and a few podium places, certainly. But talking about the age issue, we've got to remember Nigel Mansell in his early 40s, you know, still racing. Damon Hill at 39 years of age, and they say, well, what about a comeback? We don't think that's possible. We've seen some of them fail. Think of Alain Prost. He left Ferrari, said goodbye to the sport. Williams said come back, and in 1993, he took the World Championship the following year. We're talking about a man, Schumacher, who's massively fit, who's missed motorsport. It's in his blood. He just lives for it. He's just come back from karting in Brazil with Massa's big kart race over there. Everyone else was enjoying it. What was he doing? Taking it so seriously. And you can bet your bottom dollar he'll take his comeback in Formula 1 massively seriously. The young drivers like Lewis Hamilton rubbing their hands together. They want to compete against the 7-time champion. They want to beat him. That'd be a feather in their cap if they could do that.
He was talking about his neck injury there, and he says it's no problem. But the neck is perhaps one of the most crucial things for a Formula 1 driver there. And just to remind our viewers, he did that racing on a motorbike, which obviously put a stop to any potential comeback to fill in for Felipe Massa at Ferrari last year. Is that going to be a big factor? Could that possibly creep back on him next year?
I think it could do, because in 1992 he had a big accident which started this neck problem when he got the original fracture in Japan. And what he did is he aggravated it earlier this year, testing for the German Superbike Championship. And it was a massive crash. He went flying through the air. And again, he opened up the wound in there and broke his shoulder and so on and so forth. And as you said, that's why the doctor said, no, you can't go back in a racing car in August. So they're going to be watching that very, very closely. The G-forces in a Formula 1 car are tremendous. And he's going to be doing all the work on his neck, on his upper body, on his arms, which he started 6 months ago anyway, because he's always kept himself fit. Now he'll go over the top to be absolutely on it. And he was the fittest driver in Formula 1. His benchmark will be Mark Webber, the Australian driver, who is renowned as the fittest driver.
OK, what about some of the rule changes that are coming in next year? No scheduled pit stops is a new change coming in. That's more of a demand on drivers, isn't it? They don't get that sort of minute for each pit stop, normally a couple of times for each race. That's got to be a factor on them. Tighter controls on some of the technology. Once again, when he was at Ferrari, they had an open budget. They had hundreds of team members. They were so far ahead of every other team with their technology. He won't have that advantage at Mercedes, will he?
He won't. But what he's got is he's got this rule change that's coming in, and he's coming in at the same time that everyone else is going to have to get used to it. So as you said, no fuel stops, but they've got to stop for tyres, and it's going to be lightning stop for tyres. Now, he's worked with Bridgestone over many, many years. He knows their tyres, he knows how they operate. And then they're going to carry a bigger fuel tank, which means the car is a lot heavier at the start of the race. You've got to nurse the car, nurse your Bridgestone tyres so they don't go off until you get through to your pit stop. And as the fuel load lightens during the race, you get quicker and quicker and quicker. That's something, with all his guile and experience, he'll be very, very good at, nursing the car, and at the end you're going to see him really blasting through. But again, I see him as the old boy, the elder statesman, who's really going to show some of the younger drivers the way to go.
So he loses out perhaps on the age, but with his experience, especially alongside Ross Brawn, who took him to all those titles as well, you probably couldn't get a more experienced combination in Formula 1 next year, could you?
No, it's highly experienced. You've got the Red Bull guys, of course, Adrian Newey over there with Mark Webber and Vettel, but I think his will be very, very strong. And then they've got Nico Rosberg, the 24-year-old at Mercedes, his young junior teammate who's been groomed for success.
OK, very good, Tony. We look forward to a remarkable season. The prospects before Bahrain in mid-March are enormous, and it's good to see at the end of the year we've got some good news to put our focus back on the track of Formula 1 after a really ugly season. So we look forward to chatting with you once again.